Are your people excited about AI or quietly anxious about what it means for their jobs? And how psychologically safe is your workplace culture when it comes to dealing with that uncertainty? On this week's episode, we explore how leaders can help teams navigate rapid change without losing trust or momentum. First up, HR expert Suhini Wijayasinghe shares new research on why many workers feel unprepared for an AI-driven future. Then leadership consultant 𝗍𝗵𝘃𝗀 explains why psychological safety and clear communication matter so much during times of uncertainty. From Sound Cartel, I'm Grace Jennings-Edquist, and this is Business Essentials. Our first guest is Suhini Wijayasinghe, Head of HR Solutions at people2people Recruitment. With AI's rapid-fire adoption within the workplace, many employees still feel their organisations aren't keeping pace. New research shows uncertainty and fear are widespread, often driven by confusion about what AI actually means for people's jobs. In this conversation, Suhini joins me to unpack what's going on and how employers can respond. She begins by talking me through people2people's recent polls about AI in the workplace. I asked her, what did these polls find and why do they matter?
We had lots of interesting feedback from all of the generations that are present in the workforce at the moment. Some of it was around, their fear of being replaced by AI in the workforce. And we found that, 3 in 10 Australian workers believe that AI will eventually replace their role entirely. And a further 30% think parts of their role will be replaced to a certain degree, if not all. And I think there was also, a sense of not understanding and a lack of support of how to use AI and what is AI. So baby boomers feel the least supported, with 76% of them saying that they don't understand, what this tool is and how it's going to impact the workplace. And that was closely followed by 71% for millennials and Gen Z and 58% for Gen X. And I think that is reflective of, each of those generations' perception towards technology in general. But I did find it interesting that Gen X actually felt less supported than millennials and Gen Z. And I think millennials and Gen Z have a different approach to that just because they want to know everything about their technology. I think they have a deeper understanding that they need to be aware of the technology rather than being indifferent to it. So it's interesting to see those stats come through.
I'd love to ask about these recent people-to-people polls. They found that 7 in 10 workers feel their employer isn't preparing them for an AI-driven future. What are some of the key findings around generational differences in concerns about AI in the workplace?
I think there's varying levels of hesitation depending on the generation that you're in. And it's more about, I think the reasons behind it are pretty consistent. It's just more about how many people within that specific generation is succumbing to that particular assumption. And a lot of it revolves around that uncertainty around, is this piece of technology going to replace me? What does it actually mean? Is it going to replace a decision maker? Where does the control lie? And I think those are all really natural questions for people to ask and be concerned about. And I think it's reflected in each generation with their historical adaptivity to technology in general. So we know that millennials are, they're children of two worlds, essentially. Gen Z are very much about everything being tech and automated. And boomers obviously have a large hesitation towards it, as well as Gen X, in terms of kind of relinquishing that control of where do I fit into this chain of events in terms of a new piece of technology. And so I think that underpins a lot of the hesitation around AI in general, but also crucially not understanding exactly what AI is.
That's a really good point, actually. And I might let that bring me to my next question, which is about, I suppose, upskilling employees so they do understand this a lot more. So with AI moving so fast, many workers do fear being left behind. To avoid this, what kind of meaningful upskilling do employees need? And how can employers help bridge that gap?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think before we even dive into that, actually part of it is, that first step is building AI literacy. And part of that is, like I mentioned, understanding exactly what AI is. And the name is quite deceptive. I think people think artificial intelligence, you immediately think of movies and Steven Spielberg and everything else. And you kind of go, oh my God, is this thing, sentient and thinking for itself? But really what you should be doing is sort of flipping that acronym around, and it's sort of, it's not artificial intelligence, it's iterative automation is the better way of thinking about it. So you have a tool here where it can automate so much of what you're doing in your business to free you up for time to do other more important and exciting things. It's not there to replace you, it's there to help you. And I think part of that process is building people's AI literacy, which is starting small. Don't overwhelm people with, oh my God, these are all these new fantastic tools and bot agents and that can get really complex really quickly. Just talk to them about what is AI? How is it being used at the moment, just out in the world, and then specifically to the workplace? Because it's very easy to be fearful of something that you are not comprehensive about in terms of what it does. That is the first step for employers. Build some AI literacy in terms of people's understanding. And then from that, people are naturally going to start thinking about, okay, how can I participate within this automated world in a day-to-day perspective? And you'd be amazed at how many people actually come to you with ideas of going, hey, can we not automate this? Or can we get rid of this little thing? Or this is really bothering me and takes so much time. What can we do to get around it and use AI for it? That's the critical step.
That sounds great and sounds really timely, given that this research also found that I believe it was only 17% of employers are currently offering AI-related training or support. Yes. So thank you for those really practical steps. Look, my last question is kind of looking to the future. So looking ahead to 2026 and beyond, I wonder what skills or mindsets do you believe will be most essential for employees navigating an AI-enhanced workplace?
I think the reality is, and I don't want to sugarcoat this in any way, we are on the precipice of something really amazing. And I don't think any of us can soundly go, this is what the landscape is going to look like in a year's time. We are sitting around circa 2003/2004 of when social media came out, and nobody in their wildest dreams could have even begin to explain what social media meant 5 years, 10 years down the line. And now in hindsight, look at where we're at, right? So I don't think it's helpful to kind of go, it could be here, it could be there. We don't know. That's the answer. So if you go with that mindset of going, look, we don't know, there has to be an element of caution and responsibility in terms of, okay, what are we doing with AI and how does that, affect our data, affect our people? So long as you're going into it with that mindset, but also with curiosity, because I think we don't know what we don't know at this point. And so no question is a dumb question, whether that be about the safety parameters of using AI or how creative we can be with AI. So I think businesses as a whole and employees need to look at this tool and go, okay, what can I do with it? Could this be possible? Can I? And it can be as simple as, I need two systems to talk together and I just want to see if it's possible. Going in with that curious mindset with a healthy dose of caution of going, we need to protect our privacy, we need to protect our people. And this isn't about replacing the human element. This is about how can I free up time so my employees can do the things that they want to do, rather than I've got to, do 10,000 administrative tasks at the end of the month. How can we get rid of those sorts of things and help build something and a community and a culture of a workforce that's being strategic and doing exciting work rather than the menial tasks that we'd like to get rid of? It's a broad mindset, I'm not going to lie. There's lots of things to encompass there, but I think all facets of it are important, considering it's a whole new world.
That was Suhini Wijayasinghe, Head of HR Solutions at People2people Recruitment.